Welcome back to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Today, let's talk about AIPAC. Now, we've already talked about what AIPAC is in an earlier episode. I'm going to link that below. It's a little bit older, but completely relevant, where we go over what the terrible stuff they claim to do on their website and stuff like that. Today, I want to talk about where AIPAC spends its money and how crazy powerful it makes them. Like some of the things we're going to discover are that 81 Congress people, their number one donor is AIPAC. Or in 2028, one of the highly likely potential candidates for president of the United States was a former AIPAC board member. So we're going to look into that today. On Thursday, I want to look into who funds AIPAC and how they get their money and how treasonous that is, and to a degree in the way that it's done. And we'll talk about that on Thursday. So today I want to go to this website. It's really valuable. It's called Track AIPAC. And we want to look at it. When you come here, you got choices you can go to. Let me just flip over one. So let's look at the Israel lobby in U.S. Congress. So you've got basically by state here, you've got every congressperson, senators and representatives, and you got them all listed with how much money they got from who. And if their pictures all read out like this, then they're taking money from the Jewish lobby, regardless of what Jewish lobby it is. Now, if you come down here to California, you'll see this guy, Jared Huffman, and his picture's all lit up. So he doesn't take money from the Jewish lobby, but he actually does, because J Street is the Jewish lobby also. They're pro-Zionist, but they're pro two-state solution and anti the current war. So even though he does take money from him, still he gets his picture lit up like that. And look at Adam Schiff over here, $6,234,034 from AIPAC. Next election, 2030. Ridiculous. Anyway, so you can go on this and use this resource. I'll have it in references below, or you could just Google Track AIPAC and go to Congress tab, go down to your state and see what you got. My representative and my congressperson for where I live both take money from AIPAC. Not a ton, but they also don't have a lot of, it's a very red state, so it's not much competition. So they obviously donate more money the more the competition is, and understand it's not a ton of money sometimes. So you look at some of these numbers, like $338,000 in the scheme of things is not like a wild ton of money, but how much money have you ever donated to political candidates? Me, it's either $100 or $200 lifetime have I ever donated. So it doesn't take a lot when people don't, like, if you can keep people your boot on their neck enough that they don't have enough money to do philanthropy or okay, so this right here is Israel First candidates, and these are people who are up for election, and literally it's just every single one that's currently trying to get into these vacant seats and stuff. Just every single one. So let's go down here. 2028 presidential candidates. So this is on the Democrat side. And on this side, these are just people who could be presidential candidates, like Cory Booker. I don't really think, look at the picture of him, I don't really think he's a legitimate, like he could even have a chance, you know. But on here you have Ro Khanna, who hasn't taken AIPAC money, but he's taken money from J Street, $138,000. And then you have AOC, of course. We'll talk more about her towards the end. And then you got some of these numbers, like TBD, is they don't have all the facts yet, because, you know, you could donate to this group if you want. I haven't, but what they're doing is really valuable. This candidate is a former AIPAC board member, right? So this is J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, and he is a high level contender. He's in, say, top 3 for who I think could be the Democratic nominee. So if you click on this, which I already have, I don't want to waste time loading. So it goes over here. After being vetted for VP, Jewish governor of Illinois is now hosting the DNC. So this is an article from August 2024 that talks about, that mentions in it that he's a former, you have to actually go way down, that he's a former AIPAC board member. If you go just below this flag here, Pritzker, like all of candidates who were considered in Harris's Veep stakes to be her VP, has a record of supporting Israel. Every candidate did that she was considering. He was formerly on the national board of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's just proving that he's a former AIPAC member. And he's a Jewish billionaire, of course. And, you know, he was competing in his election against another Jewish billionaire. So it's like really, you know, a lot of America stuff going on. Okay, this is great. Trump administration. Okay, so you can go down, you can look at this. Trump obviously took the most, $230 million from Jewish sources, sorry. And his biggest donor is Israel. We'll talk about that on Thursday, is Israeli. And so he obviously took the most. Here's JD Vance, not a lot, 167,000. But he hasn't been in political office for too much. And it points out over here that Peter Thiel, who's wildly pro-Israel, spent $15 million, which you could add to that. But he's a pro-Israel just guy. He's not Jewish, so it's not really Jewish money. Yeah, you can go down and look. I want you to die for Israel. Pete Hegseth. Okay, Marco Rubio's over $1 million, of course. Christy Noem's terrible human being. Okay, Michael Waltz is out, I believe, because he's been out for over a month now, I believe. About $250,000. You can come look at this. I mean, it's Tulsi less, 46,500. But anyways, the interesting part on this page is the top part. This is the funding for Israel. And so far, Trump has approved $14 billion in military aid and weapon sales to Israel. So now when you drop down these top two, it'll tell you everything that we're going to give them and when. You drop down the bottom two, and it just says that we're the quote that we're going to give them the money, and it's $4 billion and $180 million. And it doesn't tell you the breakdown, but wait till you get to this breakdown. So the first one, not really as interesting. You got 2,100 small diameter bombs, 2,800 general purpose 500-pound bombs. So it's much on the smaller side. 3,000 Hellfire air to ground. Okay, whatever. But let's look at this next one. This next one's fascinating. $3 billion. Okay. The first thing, deliveries begin in 2026. Get this. Listen to this. 35,529 MK64. MK84, apologies. 2,000-pound bombs. This is 35,000 2,000-pound bombs. I didn't do the math there, but I could real quick. That would be, and then add, so that'd be 70 million pounds, over 70 million pounds of bombs. But 2,000-pound bombs are like when you see, when you're watching the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, you see them dropping bombs, and they're normally dropping 500-pound bombs. If it's a big building, they'll drop like something big like this, like a 1,500-pounder. But 2,000 pounds, the United States rarely uses them because the problem is there's so much collateral damage with your target. If it's a bunker out in the middle of nowhere, that's fine. We've got the Moab, which is bigger than that, I believe, for specific isolated targets like that. But the idea of getting 35,000 2,000-pound bombs, what's the target? You can't morally, ethically use them in Gaza, which they have obviously a lot. You can't use them in Lebanon where it's crowded. You could say for a future Iran thing, you could say. Anyways, it goes down here like 201 1,000-pound bombs, 4,799 different type of 1,000-pound bombs, stuff like that. Not too interesting. Just that 35,000 2,000-pound bombs because they have no use for them, So anyways, it's terrible. We shouldn't be. Okay, whatever. Okay. Hall of Shame. This is what I was talking about earlier. So 81 members, which is 15% of the current U.S. Congress, have AIPAC as their all-time top contributor. So for their entire political career, all-time top contributor, 81 members of Congress, which comprise 8 senators and 73 representatives, which are made up of 37 Republicans and 44 Democrats. So when you look at this, don't think that it's a Republican thing. Don't think that it's a Democrat thing. Don't think that it's a Democrats are the war party, because Republicans are shifting to be the war party right now, and Democrats are shifting to be anti, which was when I was growing up. That's what it always was. They'll just shift back and forth, but they'll all take the money. Now you can go down here and you can look at the names of the 81 people. This guy right here, Josh Gottheimer, is important because he was in our, what was it called? I did an episode on it. The Stop Hate Act, I believe it was called. He was one of the sponsors of it. And there's Hakeem Jeffries from New York. He's the in the House. He's the minority leader. Richie Torres. I've just been following that one because I watch these people. Okay, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House on the Republican side. Of course, his all-time top donor is AIPAC. He came out as soon as he got the speakership and just started. It's ridiculous. Debbie Washburn Schultz makes a fool of herself all the time. A lot of these names you just don't know. They're just people in Congress. If you get down the bottom, we got Brian Mast, Marsha Blackburn. Okay, so anyways, this is the stuff I want to show you on this part of the website. And I want now that part, all that's easy to talk about because you kind of agree with it all, and you're like, okay. But right down here, watch this. Congressional Democrat Palestine Tracker. So this is just watching Democrats, and there's not a Look at Americans killed by Israel, journalists killed by Israel, because this just happened the other day from when I'm filming this. Okay, and so there's a valuable resource. Here's a BDS over here. But this is tracking Democrats and how they vote on Palestine, right? Or for sending weapons to Israel and stuff like that. And what do you think you're going to find? What do you think when I click this button you're going to find? And the answer is you're not going to like the people who are actually voting correctly on this issue, who are voting just not for a foreign country's interest, right? I'm not necessarily saying they're doing it because they're pro-America or they're America first or anything, but at least they're just not voting for to put another country in front of Israel, right? So who do you think you're going to see? And this goes to the same story that you guys don't like, but that I say where all these people are protesting, but they're saying the right thing. And you're like, well, we don't want to ally with those scumbags. I get a lot of that and I understand, but I'm just going to put this in. So here's Congressional Democrat Palestine Tracker. Here's the names over here. Here's the total Palestine score in this column, total voting score here, and the sponsor score. Okay. So you can see the individual acts and you can go check all this out. I'm not going to go too far into it, but check this out. 97% on voting right on Palestine is Rashida Tlaib. Number 2, 93%, Ilhan Omar. So we're talking about the squad here. I don't know who number 3 is. I don't know who number 4 is. Number 5 is also the squad. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with 86%. Number 5 is this number 5? No, this is number 6. 6. Is Ayanna Pressley at 82%. And you have 4 of the top 6 for voting just not in Israel's best interest are the 4 squad members. And I'm not saying I'm a super big squad member, squad supporter, but I'm saying when I see a human being and they vote the right way on something, I'm not saying I still want to vote for you or anything or support you or send you money or anything, but I'm just saying it's relevant to know, in my opinion. So basically, even some of the numbers we saw weren't that big when you see like 150,000 or something, but you got to keep in mind that some of these are like the ones, the elections where I vote in here for the representative and the congressman from my district, they're not contested. You wouldn't have, if they were contested like a little bit, you wouldn't have to send them too much money, which is why their numbers aren't wildly high. And we're going to get more into Donald Trump and that really big number we saw. We're going to get into that Thursday. And maybe we'll look at some behaviors where he's just completely sold out to this lobby. And yeah, so I just don't want to talk about anything more. We already talked about what AIPAC is. We see here where the money is going and the effect that it has, the massive effect that it has. 15% of Congress is their all-time number one donor. It's just wild. And on Thursday, we'll talk about where the money comes from. Does it come from actual Israeli citizens? And I've got that kind of that episode's kind of going to take a twist because it's not what I thought it was going to be when I started researching it. But I think it's still really valuable what I found. Anyways, that's what I got for you. Hope to see you Thursday.